boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
According to David Adilier, Frank Warren signed Danny Dubois on the strength of the alleged sparring session that he had with Anthony Joshua, where Dubois said he knocked Joshua out, or he decked him. But we're hearing now that he had Joshua in trouble or had him out on his feet, but Joshua was still willing to rock and roll, and the sparring session did continue. So he was basically signed with the plan to develop him clout chasing of Joshua. Well, it's worked, because Daniel now finds himself in one of the biggest fights in British boxing history. Nearly 100,000 people will be there at Wembley, so it's worked. Coming off the back of the Queensberry versus Matchroom 5 versus 5, where Queensberry won 5-0. Daniel Dubois beat Hrgovic. Sheeraz beat Amo Williams. Nick Ball beat Ray Ford. Zhang beat Deontay Wilder. Willy Hutchinson beat Craig Richards. But Frank Warren would swap all of them wins for a Daniel Dubois victory over Anthony Joshua. If Daniel wins, he becomes a bigger name than Tyson Fury. Daniel essentially would become instant money, more popular than Tyson Fury, unless Tyson Fury avenges his only pro-career loss to Usyk in December. Yeah, Joshua is the draw. And Daniel has a shot at beating Joshua, but I do believe there's equally a big chance that Daniel will choke up on the night, and if he can avoid that, he has a shot. But 96,000 at Wembley, I don't think his dad or Don Charles cheerleading from outside the ropes will be as effective as it was when he fought the likes of Jarrell Miller and Hrgovic over there in Saudi, in Riyadh. I believe when Daniel saw that Hrgovic's conditioning and physical strength wasn't where it needed to be, he got very brave and beat up on Hrgovic. And when he realized that Miller, lugging around all that weight, couldn't stay with the pace with him, despite all the smack talk and the brash, abrasive behaviour from Miller, he doesn't hit that hard. I think these factors emboldened Daniel. It would be a bit harder to build off them elements that he did against Hrgovic and Miller to do the same against Joshua. More experience, 2 times unified champion, crazy knockout percentage, arguably the best offensive fighter in the heavyweight division, good stand-up game. Daniel maybe a little resentful at AJ the King, as he called him, and it's him who's got the belt, but he was saying AJ's the king, I'm the Kingslayer. Maybe a little resentful of Joshua's success. Nothing wrong with that in boxing, to be a little resentful of your opponent. Nothing wrong with that. That's good fuel. Could be good fuel. But at the same time, AJ doesn't like Daniel spreading these sparring rumours. He doesn't like Frank facilitating Daniel to spread the rumours and saying other shit about him. He's not with Eddie with the touchy-feely, oh, me and Frank are buddies thing. AJ don't like Queensberry. He wants to destroy Dubois, Fury, and Frank's dynasty, basically. So it's an extension of the 5 versus 5 is what we're seeing here. Looking forward to it. Daniel could freeze, though. He could freeze and get slept. And if AJ's too high off the success he's had in his last 2, where he's looked immaculate against Wallin and Ngannou, he could get caught too. Sometimes when you're most vulnerable, when you look invincible.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
ISHMAEL Davis gets the chance of a lifetime. 13-0, 6 inside the distance. 29 years of age from Leeds. He replaces Liam Smith, who pulled out with a week or so to go for his middleweight contest against Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly is now 15-1-1 with 8 inside the distance. He's 29 years of age from Sunderland. ISHMAEL is a squat, muscular fighter. Looks like a slugger, but he's a bit of a technician in there. But he's very physically strong. He looks like a huge puncher with all the muscles, but he doesn't hit that hard. Solid puncher, but not a knockout artist. Josh Kelly's reach and height is going to give him issues. But then again, it's a step into the unknown for Josh Kelly as well. ISHMAEL being a late replacement. But ISHMAEL's in shape. He was due to have a fight about a month after the 21st of September. And that fight is still scheduled on BoxRec. So he's in shape, and it'll be his first outing at middle. He's a career light middle. But it's a first for Josh Kelly as well. He's a career light middle, stepping up to middle. Josh Kelly's got to get a move on. He's 30 years of age. And if he's going to do anything, middleweight, not as strong as we've seen it in previous years. The woeful Danny Garcia challenge to ERISLANDY Lara for the WBA title is an example of how the middleweight division at world title level has fallen from grace. Johnny Beck fainting at weigh-ins. Carlos Adames can't get a fight. There was talk of Conor Walker replacing Liam Smith, but ISHMAEL gets the opportunity. Liam Smith, he withdrew with a virus, supposedly. I've heard that he's been looking very heavy set in recent times. He struggled with the weight cut when he was stopped brutally by Chris Eubank in a very one-sided fight as Chris avenged his stoppage loss to Liam previously in 2023. Now, the virus could be legit. I believe he was struggling to make the weight, and with so much money on the table, it being a Riyadh season card, him and McNally thought, yeah, we'll have a go, we'll try and get the weight off, but they were never going to make 160 safely. That's what I believe. Added to that, he was coming off a bad beating. So I'm not fully convinced that the virus is what led to his withdrawal. I just don't think he was either in the right state of mind, and he was having issue with the weight cut, issues in camp probably. He's 36 years of age. Could be stick and fork in him time, but we'll see. I don't see him going up to 168, do you? And doing anything.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Danny Garcia contemplating retirement after barely landing a punch in what was essentially a snooze fest against ERISLANDY Lara, a sparring session for ERISLANDY. He had no complaints with his dad's decision to throw the towel in. He said he wanted to do something great. Post-fight, he said Lara had a strong jab. Watching the fight, he was never getting past that jab, and he rarely, if any, landed any jabs himself. As soon as Lara got even a little more aggressive, you could see Danny was in all sorts of shit. When Lara started to throw the left more frequently, Danny's shape just fell apart. He got stopped for the first time in his career. He was already semi-retired anyway. He fought Errol Spence in December 2020 and didn't fight for the whole of 2021. Didn't look very good against Jose Benavidez in 2022. Took the whole of 2023 off and got stopped by ERISLANDY Lara. Saturday gone. So we're talking 3 fights since 2019, 2 of them losses. He's almost retired anyway. Didn't he say he was going to promote fights in Philly? 2-weight champion. He's had a good career. Light welterweight was where he was at his prime, for my money. The wins over Amir Khan and Lucas Matisse are my personal favourites of Danny's. He's had a good career. He said he's going to promote fights in Philly. Maybe it's that time. He had a lot of decisions that went in his favour that shouldn't have, perhaps. There was the Herrera fight. I interviewed Herrera after I thought Herrera took the belts. The Morales fight, first one was controversial. The Lamont Peterson fight, that was a bad one as well. He had a few go his way. No credible promoter would put Danny Garcia in a world title fight again. It's just not going to happen again. Not even the PBC would contemplate doing that, surely. They probably would, actually.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Deontay Wilder hasn't fought twice in a year since 2019. That was against Dominic Breazeale and Luis Ortiz, who he had already previously beaten. In 2020, he was stopped by Tyson Fury, WBC belt taken. In 2021, probably a year and a half later, he was again stopped by Tyson Fury, in a tough fight, admittedly, that he nearly won. But he was stopped. In 2022, he had the 1-round victory against Robert Helenius. And in December 2023, he was washed on the scorecards by the underdog Joseph Parker. Zhang knocked him out on June the 1st of this year, 2024. He's not fighting frequently because either he physically can't get it together, or mentally he either can't be bothered, or that warrior spirit has been crushed. It's not something a fighter wants to come to terms with. But regardless of my opinion or my assessments, Malik Scott is saying Deontay Wilder will not retire. He will be back. He's won 1 out of his last 5, but he'll be back. 38 years of age. Malik outlined that Derek Chisora for this December. Would that be on the Usyk Fury undercard? Derek would definitely be up for it. Derek's been calling out Wilder for a long while. A lot of people wanted to protect Derek from Deontay. Don't let Derek in the ring with Deontay. Deontay's going to kill him. But after watching the Parker and Zhang fight, you won't be hearing them say that. And it's not to say that Wilder still couldn't knock Derek Chisora out. But right now, they'd be giving Chisora more of a chance in a fight like that. Chisora's 40, 35 wins, 13 losses, 23 inside the distance. He's won 3 out of his last 5, avenging a defeat to Kubrat Pulev. He also beat Gerald Washington and Joe Joyce. He's lost to Tyson Fury and Joseph Parker. I think Malik and Deontay are going to underestimate how intelligent Derek is in the ring. Got to keep the pressure on Derek for Derek's legs to go. Joyce did put the pressure on Derek, and you saw Derek's legs struggling to hold out. Deontay's not going to do that. He's going to be looking for the one sniper rifle shot. And it could work, but he's already been exposed as a one-trick pony. You've got to get more skills. You've got to bring more to the table. I'm not doing a triangle theory here, but we have to look at the common opponents. Wilder was absolute trash against Joseph Parker. Derek beat Joseph Parker in the first fight. He just didn't get the nod. Wilder's last 2 fights, did you see any effective pressure against Joseph Parker? No. Same against Zhang. To be effective against Derek, example, the rematch that Parker had with Derek Chisora, what did he do? He bulked up to stop Derek rolling over him. Deontay, basically a bridgerweight, cannot keep Derek off him from a skills perspective with a jab and movement. That's not his game. And at 38, do you see Deontay staying on his toes boxing Derek? I don't see it. Deontay's looking for one big punch. And up until he perhaps finds that punch, Derek beats the crap out of him. And if it goes past 6 rounds, yeah, Derek has a great shot at turning him over. I think Malik is looking at it like, yeah, this will just be an easy comeback fight after the Zhang and Parker fights for Deontay. Malik, be warned. Derek Chisora is not that guy. I'm not saying Wilder can't win it, but this is not a guaranteed tune-up, a give-me fight by any means. It's not that.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
I'm looking at one common opponent. In 2021, the unbeaten River Wilson Bent fought to a technical draw with Tyler Denny. In 2022, however, Tyler outpointed him via split decision, and then River Wilson Bent went on to get spanked in 2 rounds by Hamza Sheeraz. How relevant is the triangle theory, though, is the question. Let's break down the stats. Tyler Denny, 33 years of age. 19 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 1 knockout. European champion. Hamza Sheeraz, 25 years of age. 20 wins, no losses, no draws, 16 inside the distance. Who's going to argue that Sheeraz is the bigger puncher? I'm not. Now, I did a little research, but I couldn't find anything where I saw Tyler Denny on the canvas as a pro. I couldn't find anything. The fight before, Hamza shut down River Wilson Bent in 2. He was put on the canvas by a relatively light punching Argentinian. He got back up and stopped him. And he was also hurt pretty badly, but he recovered well and stopped Ammo Williams in his last fight. I'm not sure if there's chin issues or if he's fighting at a weight that is not natural to a 6'3", 25-year-old. And the bigger question then, if he does have issues making the weight or taking a shot, can somebody with 1 knockout win in 24 fights take advantage? Tyler did hurt Felix Cash, who he upset in his last fight. Unbeaten Felix with a very high KO percentage. Former British champion. Tyler stopped him. I watched the face-off. Carl Frampton asked each man what their strengths and weaknesses are. Hamza said his confidence, because how many times has he been the underdog and overcame the odds? Felix Cash last time out. He also beat Brad Paul, the current British champion. He was the underdog in that. He's beat about 5 or 6 unbeaten fighters on his route to becoming European champion. When Tyler was asked about the strengths of Hamza Sheeraz, he said his height. When you get caught on the end of taller fighters' punches, it normally hurts more. So he'd be wary of that. Weaknesses, Hamza shielded his answer. He said Ricky Nunez and his team will go around dissecting what they think they can capitalize on, and he left that there. Tyler, he veered off when talking about Hamza's strengths, his power and his height, so he didn't touch on what the weaknesses are. I actually think Hamza's opportunities of victory are by early stoppage. At the same time, Tyler looks like he takes a good shot, and he definitely has a gas tank to test anyone who might be struggling to make the weight. I'm tentatively picking the upset. I'm not sure about Hamza at 160. He's definitely got the power to stop Tyler. At the same time, Sheeraz can't hang his chin out with Tyler. And that's the temptation, isn't it? The temptation is to look at the stats that he's only got one stoppage and perhaps try and take liberties where you wouldn't with someone with a higher KO percentage. A few fights I've seen with Hamza, it takes him a little while to get going. It took him a little while to get going against Ammo. And what about Bradley Skeet, who was out boxing him? Hamza came into it, put him on the floor, and there was the controversy when he hit him while he was down. I really like this fight, but yeah, I'm tentatively picking Tyler Denny by the narrowest of decisions.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Willy Hutchinson needs to slow down when he talks. I can't understand half of what he's saying, I'll be honest with you.
You need to slow your speed, stop the nonsense.
He had a lot to say about the sparring session he had with Joshua Buatsi. Was that around 5 years ago? He was saying he was bashing up Buatsi. Buatsi brought up what he said to Craig Richards and said he's going to make him pay for that. He was talking about an unedited version of the said video that caused a lot of controversy back in June, where Willy allegedly unleashed a tirade of racially insensitive expletives.
I don't know. If it's true, I leave it up to you.
Are we going back there again? Well, look, I'm not going to give a lot of you the answer you want. The best way to go deal with that is to punch Willy in his mouth and put him on the floor in the ring legally and leave it there. Hutchinson, 26 years of age, record of 18 wins, 1 defeat, 13 inside the distance. Hutchinson is coming off a career best win, and he did look good against Craig Richards, he did. But Craig was very inactive beforehand, and Buatsi is relatively inactive as well. I'm going to keep reminding you guys, he turned down a title shot with Dimitri Bivol to fight a nondescript routine fight against a Norwegian in Birmingham, where the crowd started walking out because it wasn't the most exciting fight. And then a domestic showdown with Dan Aziz. And now he's having another domestic showdown and hasn't fought for a world title yet, even though the opportunity was around early last year to do that. And he could be fighting a guy who's just coming to the peak of his powers. Joshua Buatsi has to slow this guy down. I believe he's got quicker feet than Buatsi and quicker hands. I don't think he's got as much power as Buatsi, and he's certainly not as physically strong as Buatsi. But, you know, maybe Buatsi's getting tight at the weight now. He's a big light heavy. He's 30 now. But a hand speed and foot speed is going to cause Buatsi issues. Buatsi's got to be disciplined. He's got to work the body. You've got to push Willy on the back foot. And Craig, he did all that in spurts, but the underdog had his day. Craig was a big favourite to win that. I'll be honest with you, I can't call it. Buatsi's recent form hasn't been that impressive to me. I can't call this one. And wouldn't be shocked if Willy outpointed Buatsi. I wouldn't be shocked. You know, Craig Richards was all arms and legs in there and he couldn't find his range. He looked tense. And Willy was loose. He was loose. He was enjoying himself in there. And Craig had his moments where he landed some big shots. But he got outboxed. Buatsi has had a few indifferent performances. And if he goes in there all tight, not letting his hands go, he could take an L. He could take an L. It's a hard one to call. It's a hard one to call. He's got to establish range with that jab, Buatsi. He definitely has to establish range with that. Double it up to the head, stab it to the body, give Willy something to think about. Don't just give Willy free rein to be setting the tempo, showboating, and getting his combinations off. He needs good feet. He needs to cut the ring off properly, not follow Willy around in straight lines like Craig Richards did. He handled the face-off pretty well, actually, Buatsi. He didn't let anything Willy said get to him. If anything, he got to Willy. And Craig, I'm not going to put it down to just Willy getting the better of him in the smack talk war. But Craig did seem to take a lot of it to heart. And Buatsi, you know, he kept his game face on. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. I am rooting for Buatsi, though. I can't lie.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Anthony Cacace versus Josh Warrington for the super featherweight IBF title. The face-off, they were both very, very, very cordial to each other. Warrington, coming off 2 losses, is up against a 5'10" super featherweight champion. Warrington is 5'6", registered as 5'7", longer reach. I think Cacace might have the power edge too. I think Cacace is going to win it. Whether he'll stop Warrington or not, I don't know. Neither man exactly a spring chicken. Cacace 35, Warrington 33. Both getting on. Cacace from Ireland, Southpaw. Should be better in most departments, especially at range. I don't think he'll be as aggressive as he was against Cordina. But Warrington will come to brawl, and if necessary, Cacace will definitely brawl with him. So I expect Cacace to win.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.